In this lesson, you will get an overview how to use and apply customization on a workspace in ALM Octane. In order to use the customization, you need to navigate to the Spaces administration, which can be found from clicking on the wheel. On administration, select Spaces. Now we are redirected to the Workspace customization area. Based on your license and ALM Octane edition, you can also define templates for customization on the top level, on the space level, which will apply those changes across the workspaces. With this, you are not recreating the customization per workspaces, but applying a template from the space level, which will be reused by all the projects. So you need to do the change only one time on the space level in order to get the changes applied on workspace level. But let's focus now on the local workspace customization. Even you have applied a shared space customization from the top level, you can still customize your workspaces locally. You can see here on the Entities tab, you have different entities available from ALM Octane. In order to do your customization, just select the desired entity and you will have 4 tabs available: Rules, Fields, Workflow and Forms. And on the rules, you can basically apply workflow rules which you want to use and configure based on the data input, on the selection, and or on the workflow of a specified entity. So let's see here, for instance, we have already few rules applied on the defect entity. These rules are coming from the top level. So these are shared entities. You can see here they are coming from the shared space level and are being reused and reforced to be used on the workspace level defect entity. So I have here a rule which is activated. So the status is on. It has no dependency to phase. The action is make blocked reason required, and condition is if blocked equals yes. Yeah. So block reason will become required if you select the field blocked on defect and say the value is yes. If it is not the case, if your value is no, it will become read only and clear whatever was in the blocked reason. In this case, you can also add additional business rules by clicking on Add Business Rule. And now you can basically apply all the different actions you have available in ALM Octane. So we have few actions which allows you to configure your workflow to your desired need. So you can add a comment based on different conditions. You can add users my work area. So the item will be added to the my work area of the user. You can alert user. This is a very important action. Using this action, you can block user to do a change. So you can prevent changes on different submission modes, like new, update, or deleted. You have block transition, where you don't allow the user to move the workflow from one phase to another. Make read only. Here you can decide to select fields which you want to get read only based on the condition you define here. Make required is the same like make read only, but the fields will become required. Modify lookup list, in order you want to change dynamically the content of a lookup list, you can use the modify lookup list. Sending emails, set field value. So you can force a value to be set on a field based on different condition. Trigger webhook. You can also call external web services in order to do complex configuration and customization, and use forms which you have defined in the forms tab based on different conditions. So this is the action tab here. You have also the second tab, which is the condition tab. And here basically you define, based on all the fields of this selected entity, what is the condition in order to apply the action which you have selected before. So let's say if the defect type equals pre-release, then you can say, I want to make few fields read only. So let's say you want to make fields read only for detected by, environment, milestone, and so on. So you select the desired field and say these fields will become read only once this condition is met on any defect which is in ALM Octane. And when you apply this, you can see this rule is applied on the top directly, and it's not a shared entity, so other workspaces will not see it, and it's only applied locally. And you can also deactivate it just from here by clicking on the status and turn it off. When you turn it on again, it's active, and you can also move it up and down if needed. So the workspace, the shared entities, they have always to be on the bottom. So this one is the only local rule I have created. So it's not possible for me to move it up and down, as the shared entity rules will be applied at the bottom. In order to delete, you can always select it and say, I would like to delete the rule. Then this rule will be deleted from your customization. On the field tab, you can create additional fields for your workspace. On this level, you can see I have multiple shared field applied from the space level. These are defaults field which are available on the defect for me. I can either view all the fields I have, or I can only show me the system fields or user defined fields. So let's take a look on the user defined fields. I can see that I have on the workspace no user defined fields, neither on the shared space level nor on the workspace level. If I want to create a field, I can click on add field. From here, I can give it a name. So this could be maybe a QA owner. So the name is the technical name. You should make sure that it is written in small letters, and at the end, ALM Octane will apply a underscore UDF. On the label, you can now define exactly the label for your field. So in this case, I can say it's a QA owner. And as I'm referring to someone which is a user, I can select here different types. So it's I have list types available. I have strings available, Boolean field, integer, user field, release field, theme field, long string, memo field, date and time. And in my case, this is a user field because there is a user list attached to it, and I can allow here to do a multi-selection. So on this specific field, users can select multiple users. Yeah? And I can also put a description if I want here, and decide if this field is trendable or not. This is majorly for reporting purposes. As I have not created any form, it is also not available here for selection. Otherwise, if I would have custom forms, I could select the form and say where this field should appear by default. If you don't select anything here, this field will not appear on the default views. You need to manually add it in your views after this field is created. When I click on add, this field is added. So let's add it. You can see this is the field which I've created, and I can also delete it from here if I want. So let's go to the workflow. In the workflow, you can also see is here more visually. So you can add additional phases. So each of those boxes represent a phase in the defect life cycle. You saw I have collapsed all the toolbars in order to build complex workflows. This is completely up to you. So you can add all the different phases before and after if needed. You can modify those transitions and add the transitions. It depends if you are using a shared space configuration or a isolated space configuration. So if you're using a shared space configuration, you cannot apply transitions because they are forced from the shared space level. If you are using isolated spaces, you can basically apply all transition and all phases in order to fulfill your workspace specific workflow. Otherwise, if you have a shared space workflow which you want to reuse across workspaces, you need to define it here on the top. And in my case, you can see that all these boxes which represents the phase items are shared entities, so they have been defined here on the top level, and I'm just reusing them here in my workspace. I have the possibility to add additional phases before and after and configure it a bit, but I'm getting the shared template from the top applied here. I can also, on the properties of each of those boxes as well as on the transitions, I can apply different rules. So the rule is always block something from open to fixed in this case, and providing a condition when this transition should be blocked. If maybe based on a user role, you don't want the tester to do something or the team member to do something, then you can say block this transition from open to fixed when the user role is team member. And same you can do here on the phases level, but on the phases level you have more action available, all the actions which are in the rules. On transition level you can only block those transitions. And the last area in customization is the definition of forms. You can see I have here 3 forms. All are shared entity forms, so they are coming from the space level, and I can define here a new form by adding it. So let's add, this is my local defect form, and you will see it will be just an empty form, and I can now decide if this should be used for as a default form for edit. If I select this, this will be my default form when I want to edit the defect. And now from here I can design the layout of my form. So I have already one section which is general. I can add an additional section for additional information. So let's say we have additional section for internal information. So, and now based on the different areas, I can add fields. So I can say here on the top, I have, let's say, I have the covering test, root cause, creation time, defect type, description I have on the top. Then in the additional info, I would like to add, let's see, we have invested hours, we have last modified, we have fixed in build, open vulnerabilities, priority, program, progress. So I can add those here. And if I don't want one field to be appear here, I can also take it and drag and drop it to the other section. So it is just moved to the other section. And you can also reorder the fields just by dragging and dropping it to the right place. This is a very easy way to create your own layouts and forms, and you can also switch to those forms based on the rules. So once I have created a form, let's say local defect form, I can also go back to the rules and say I would like to use this form as an action on the rules. I can find here local form, defect form, and now define a condition when this defect form should be used. So I can also say if the phase equals, let's say, fixed, then this form should be used in order to really reduce the content I want the user to fill in or to see. Yeah, so this is a very easy way to switch the form and the views for the users based on the phases or other conditions. Under the list tab, you can basically see all the lists which are available. As this is a shared space configuration, means I have a shared space on the top and not isolated space, I cannot create list on the workspace level. I have to create them on the shared space level in order to not duplicate list on different workspaces, so you can really reuse the list items for your need. And let's say if you have here a priority list and you don't want to use the very high option in this list only for this specific workspace, then you can also apply a rule for this. You can add a new rule saying as an action modify lookup list, look for priority, and now you can say either in this workspace all items should be used, or I would like to use only the 4 items, and then when the users open the list, it will receive only these 4 items you have selected. And you don't have to provide a condition, as this is something you would like to set as default. You just apply it and it will be available. So priority uses lookup list with these 4 items without any condition. So that's basically an easy way to do your customization on the project workspace level and apply the changes you need in order to fulfill your workflow.